Hey guys, it's Rick again. I know it's this handsome mug is why you clicked on the thumbnail. We know. Welcome to the Sound Horizons podcast, presented by Toontrack. Today, we have the honor and the privilege of spending some time with a scholar, a gentleman, amazing musician, legend, hero, icon, and just overall coolest person you would ever want me to talk to. I know, you know who it is. I know it's a build-up. Now he's got to live up to this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our privilege and pleasure to spend some time today with Doug Pinnick of King's X fame. So give an internet round of applause and troll quick typing for Doug Pinnick of King's X. Yeah, and here we are. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, Doug, thank you for joining us. I know it's earlier on the West Coast. So I have many questions for you. And in your storied career, you've been asked all of the questions. So it's very difficult to try and prepare something that doesn't sound stock or boilerplate when you talk to someone like you, who is, I mean, you have to have been interviewed at least 300 or 400 times, if not more, in your career.
Yeah, a lot.
Does that in and of itself ever become like, okay, I'm just done, I'm out, I'm over, or do you still enjoy talking about stuff?
You know, I have to be honest, and I think that everybody would feel the same way. Why would you not want to talk to somebody asking you questions about you and talk about you? You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point,
we love attention, and we love to talk about our life and the things that we've accomplished and learned, you know. So I have no problem with that. I love to do that. I love to share whatever it is. I don't care how many times it is, because there's always somebody who hasn't heard it. You know,
it's a great way of looking at it, though. That's a great way of looking at. Well, and
I always say too, it's only my career.
It's only what you've given your entire life to. That's it. That's nothing else. Well, brings a great point, because I kind of, as I get older, I stop paying attention to time, as I'm sure we all do, right? But it just dawned on me that
I'm not even paying attention anymore. It goes by so fast. When I look, it's gone. I look up at the clock at 10 o'clock and spin around, and it's 10:30, and I'm going, what the fuck? Really?
I can't believe King's X is been doing, like, you're past the 40-year mark now, and it's
43. I'd be 44 in next January, probably.
I cannot wrap my head around that concept. That same three guys doing the same thing together for all of that time, and it somehow you're all still active currently. It's an amazing accomplishment in any musical landscape, let alone today's, which when I look back on where your career started, I mean, you literally have had this opportunity to look at sort of all of these recent phases of the music industry, right? From bad label deals to behind the music to the 90s grunge scene to now it's the 2000s to computers to Napster to Spotify. You guys have literally...
I was born in 1950. I remember records in 45s. I remember when I saw my first 45 when I was about 5 years old, 6, something like that.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was You Send Me by Ray Charles. You Send Me by Sam Cooke.
Oh, wow.
And then the second one was What I Say by Ray Charles, Atlantic Records. I love the logo. It was red and black with the Atlantic on it. And when we did the Dogman record, I literally asked record company and says, can we use the old logo, the old original logo for the Dogman record? They said, yeah. So if you ever pull that record out, it's got the original old Atlantic label. They didn't use it before. They made up a new one. I didn't like it.
No,
but it was just fun to do it, because it was just something that I wanted to be on that label. See a King's X record when I'm a little kid. I'm 5, 6 years old looking at that record, and now I'm on that label. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Which is amazing, right? So when you look back, though, through all those phases, do you have any particular window of, not your music, not King's X music, but the industry? Is there any window where you think, man, this is where the industry was the most fun or seemed to be the most interesting to you?
Well, I never paid attention to the industry till we got record. Before that, I had no clue how many records somebody sold or how big their concerts were. I remember playing Supertramp and loving the band. I didn't realize they were as huge as they were. I pulled up a video of them about a year ago, and they're playing an arena. And I'm thinking, I didn't even know Supertramp was that big, I remember even Deep Purple, I mean, Richie Blackmore asked me to join the band around the time we were doing the Gretchen record. And I go, no, I didn't want to be another singer in the band. I mean, I had my reasons, but it just dawned on me about a year ago how big that band was.
Huge.
So I never paid attention to fame and fortune. I just liked the music. If they played music and it inspired me and made me want to copy them, go along and pick up my bass or a mic and try to sing like them. That's what it's always been to me. So when I started to understand the music industry, that's when everything went downhill. It was like, no, it's not fun anymore. All of a sudden you start paying attention to what you're doing, what you're playing, what you're saying. They're telling you how to look, what to say, what not to say, who to trust, who not to trust. Everybody's telling you the greatest thing in the world, but nobody's buying your records. It's just a complete mind fuck. It completely is. I don't recommend it for anyone unless you really just go play music, and if you get paid for it, be happy.
Yeah. Well, you had another anomaly as well. So you're a left-handed bass player, which obviously everybody knows. Was that harder when you were coming up? Were you more of like, oh, look at this guy? Or did that ever really factor in anything?
No, I'm ambidextrous. I can do things with both hands. But as a child, my family, there's a lot of left-handed people in my family, which is kind of weird because left-handed people have a certain thing about them. They're like a lot. I have 3 brothers and a sister who are left-handed. So when someone picks up something, a little child in the family, and you see what hand she or he picks it up with, you immediately go, oh, he's left or he's right. We address it immediately and start putting things in the left hand to the kid, because in some situations in families I've grown up where if you were left-handed, your hand was tied and you were forced to use your right hand because left-handed has something to do with the devil and religion. And it was real. Yeah, it was being left-handed is sort of like a witchcraft kind of voodoo thing, that back in the day people were afraid of that, but my family, they were into it, the left-handed thing. So I remember I was learning how to play saxophone when I was 7, and no, I was 12, sorry. And I remember the teacher said, I'm going to get you a saxophone. I go, I need a left-handed one. He goes, there are no left-handed saxes. I go, I can't play right-handed, and he goes, no. He handed it to me and said, put your fingers on it. And I played it. It was easy. Then he said, people play piano. They're not left-handed or right-handed. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter which side you play on. It's just what you learn on. It all can be learned. Eric Gales is right-handed. He plays upside down left-handed because his brother played upside down left-handed, and he just grabbed his brother's guitar and learned how to play.
That's how he learned. Wow. Well, was it harder though? I guess one of the was it harder to find gear for you as a left? Right. Because it wasn't as readily available.
Oh, it was impossible. There was no left-handed guitars anyway. I just turned it around like Jimmy did. And just, I just went with it. It wasn't a big deal. It's like,
it's a pretty good role model.
You just turn it around and go play, no big deal. And actually it kind of made you a little special too if you play left-handed upside down. People go, oh man, it kind of, it's an added bonus for the look. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I played upside down for a while, and then I switched the strings to play correctly, but still played left-handed. And then finally, back after we got a record deal, and endorsers were asking me to endorse their equipment, they'd start making me left-handed basses, and so that's how it all started.
Which is kind of nice. It never hurts to have people start making stuff for you as you do it.
Not at all. I know the first time I had I tried a left-handed bass. It was a PD bass back in '84. Wow. And we were playing a gig in a bar, and the band that was playing with us, they did open for us, but we weren't a band that people opened for. They just played with us that night. And the bass player had a left-handed bass, and I said, man, can I try that? And he handed it to me, and I played it on one song. And I remember when I got done, Ty said to me, dude, you need to go back to your left-handed bass because you played lead all night long. Because the cutaway where you can play up high, sure. I never went that high before because when you're playing upside down, you can't reach those high notes.
Oh, that's a good point.
I'm going, oh, whoa, and I'm going, uh-oh, did I knock something over here?
Oh, that's okay.
There we go. Okay.
The excitement was worth it.
Hang on, I knocked my phone out. Okay,
that's all right.
All right. I sometimes get carried away.
We love it.
I'm
get
a bit
carried
animated.
away.
All right.
Okay, so along with that, one of the things that you've always been identified with is this. It's I don't even know how to really describe it, but you've had your own sound, your own bass sound since the beginning, and it's obviously grown and changed over the years. But I've always wondered, was that a conscious effort on your part, or was that just a byproduct of the gear you had and the way that the three of you sort of, melded your sound together?
No. I think even before I started playing bass, I started playing bass when I was 23.
Okay.
And so I was a little older, but Yes came out with Roundabout. And when I heard the bass tone in Roundabout, I went to the music store and said, how do I get that sound? I didn't know how to explain it. I said, it sounds like a rubber band going bang, 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 bang. I didn't know how to explain it. And they looked at me like I was stupid and said they didn't know. And then I was playing The Who live at Leeds, and My Generation came up. And when Entwistle went, and I heard this clangy tone, and I'm going, what is that? And so I kind of did my research the best I could, because back then, back in the 70s, we had Circus Magazine. There was no internet. There was no nothing. So you didn't know. So I literally went and saw Yes play with Leonard Skinner, Gary Wright, and Peter Frampton. It was 73, I think it was. And it was thousands of people were there. And I remember Yes came on, and I looked up at the stage, and Chris Squire had a Marshall head in a speaker cabinet, and he had an acoustic head and an acoustic bass amp, and they were both standing next to each other, and that's what he played through. He had one plugged into the high end, one plugged into the low end, and I go, that's how he does it. And then I was reading I think it was Bass Player magazine. I think it was John Entwistle was talking about what he used on his solo record. And he had put the solo record out, and on the first song, that tone was just huge. And so I figured it out. He said that he used a Music Man guitar amp and a acoustic bass amp. And he plugged, to. So that's what started it for me. The understanding of it. Now, I didn't learn this stuff till later, because when I started playing bass, I didn't have any money. I barely had a bass. And so luckily I was, somebody gave me this it had an 18-inch speaker in it, and it was just a cabinet. And it was two cabinets, actually. It said Ampeg on it. And on one of the cabinets, there was a top that you unlatched it, and you pulled the amp out, and you turned it over. And you turn, and there are the knobs you plugged in. This is old. It was old ass amp. So it was an amp. So it was two speakers, but the amp was in the one cabinet. And I played through that. I didn't get no high end out of it, but I played it loud and had a lot of fun with it. Yeah. But I moved to Florida, and I took my cabinets with me, and I jammed with some people, and there was this guy that came in with this head. It was a trainer head, YB100. And I plugged into it to check it out, and it was the clang from hell, okay? I mean, there was no low end in it. It was just clang, 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 and I traded him both of my amps for that head. He looked at me like I was stupid, but I was, but I wanted that sound so bad. I would give you everything I had. And the guitar player I was playing with said, Doug, what are you going to do for a bass or a cabinet? I'm going, I'll figure it out, because we didn't have no money. But somehow I came across a folded 18-inch acoustic cabinet. And with the trainer head and the folded cabinet, it gave me just enough low end to get away with being a bass player, but all the high end was there. But this folded cabinet kind of buried some of the high end, which gave it a really kind of a far away high end tone. And so that's what I kind of go for now. It's like, it sounds like two instruments. The high end is like in the background echoing, but the low end is in your face. And you hear this nagging tone that's it's like a voice, and so through the years, you know, I've developed it and made it my own, and then got an amp and a pedal about it for it too.
Yeah.
You know, I wish John Entwistle and Chris Squire could play through them. I'd like to see what they thought of them.
That'd be amazing. Well, I'm sure they're looking down. They approve. I'm sure they approve.
I hope so.
Well, so as you're on this journey, and it brings up this other great point. So given your penchant for that sound and just sound in general, how many times throughout this process of King's X being signed and doing it, how many times have people tried to change or alter that sound, or kind of come to you and be like, if you would just do this, you'll be never. Wow. Never. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're in the rarity then.
The only problem, every now and then, if we played in a club where we had to use somebody else's sound man, or there's a house guy, the sound man would always go, "Where's your low end?" And I go, "This is it." And he goes, "Man, there's no bottom." I'm going, "That's my sound." He goes, "Okay." And there was never, and literally there was very little low end back then. I mean, it got bigger and bigger when I got some bass amps to beef it up. But back in the day, it was pretty thin.
So are you a fan? I know you've used them a little bit in the past. 12-string basses, still a thing you dig or into? Or
yeah, geez, that's like I have a 12-string signature bass.
Yeah, I know.
When I used to listen to Cheap Trick a lot, and growing up in Chicago, Cheap Trick were a big deal because they're a hometown band, and we got to go on the road with them and on our first album, and we used to talk to Tom and talk about his 12, and he let me play it, and you know, I'm going, "I love this thing." He says, "You need to get you some," you know, and so I literally got a hold of Hamer Guitars and said, "Tom told me to call you guys," and they started making them for me. People, the rumor is I started it, but I didn't. Tom Peterson's been doing it for years. The thing with me, though, is that every video we did in the first 4 records, Sam, our manager and music producer, made me play the 12 on all the videos. Even if there wasn't a 12 on the song, he said, "Play your 12." I think he was trying to establish some kind of a look or something, you know, because, and it did. People, you know, they say 12-string and people go Doug Pinnick, and I'm going, "No, I ain't the guy."
But you kind of, you are Jeff the guy. Ament. You're the guy, Jeff.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you're the guy.
Yeah, they'll say Jeff too because of Jeremy. You know, yeah. I remember Jeff said, "Hi, what do you do on a 12-string?" And I grabbed my bass and started playing these chimes and these little ding 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 ding. And he went, "Oh, okay," and he fucking went and wrote Jeremy fucking big. Awesome. It was like, are you kidding me?
You get a screenwriter's credit. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. No, I know it's no credit. We all borrow from each other. And I always say that. If any band that says they're influenced by us, I'll tell them that I got something from them too in that influence, you know?
That's a great way to look at it. And do you think that that's a key to the fact that you guys can still get out there and do it? And when I say you can, it's obviously everyone in the band is incredibly creative. You have solo projects. I want to talk about, you have a new record coming out soon. I want to talk about that. But because there's all of this creativity, do you find that your baby, the vehicle of King's X, is still exciting to the three of you? Is it still like, wow, we still get to do this and it's cool?
Yes. And I'll put a no in there with this disclaimer. I always say at the end of the shows, at the end of King's X shows now, I go, we are King's X. We've been together for 43 years. We love each other as much as we hate each other. We would kill each other, but we would die for each other. It says, we stay together for the kids. We are King's X. And the crowd, it's a beautiful moment. Everybody gets it, you know, and it's like, it's not that we don't like each other. We get along. We have no problems. And if we had problems, we would have broke up a long time ago. Even Ty says if we had sold millions and millions of records and became huge, he said we would have broke up a long time ago. But we didn't have that issue. For us, it's us against the world, and we'll go for it. You know, everything else is put on hold when we hit that stage. You know, all of a sudden when Jerry goes click, 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 a whole nother world happens around the three of us, and it's like you get on the boat and you go. It's like a sprint. And you hold each other up and you keep on going. If somebody's falling, you pick them up and keep on going. You don't go, "Man, you're screwing up, man." No, you go, "Oh, you're having trouble in that? I'll compensate for you. I'll just play harder." I mean, that's how we do it. If someone is not feeling good or up, the other one lifts them up. We're a very emotional band. If I'm in a bad mood and I'm angry or have a lot of angst, the show will be angry. Ty and Jerry feed. They just go wherever Doug goes, they go with me. They always said that wherever you're going, we're following you, but they're not following me as somebody who's showing them what to do. They're just we're all rowing the boat together, but we all know the speed we need to row it at,
Well, and again, it's unique. It as you know, bands are built for obsolescence over time, right? Yeah. So you get 5 guys together. If they can stay together for 2 years, that's a lucky group of 5 guys, let alone 3 guys for 43 years. So as you look back on the collective body of work, and I know you're one of the most humble and forthright guys I've ever known in my life. So I'm going to ask you a question you have to have been asked a million times. Okay. Are there any King's X songs, any of the children, the songs that you just don't look forward to doing anymore because you've either done them so much or they've worn their welcome?
Over My Head is something that I'm just done with doing. Yeah. I've been doing that song since the beginning. I wrote that song in 84, I think it was. So,
oh, wow.
And until this last year, we did that song in every show. And I kind of got to the point where I'm tired of doing this. But when I go music, and see the crowd just go crazy, everything changes and you just do it for them. We do it for the children. And all of a sudden, you feel their energy and the smiles and the tears and the singing along. And you just feel like, okay, I'm the ringleader. I might as well give it to them. Let's do this. Come on. Let's get it on. The congregation is here. They're ready to hear me preach, So it's sort of like it's a beautiful thing, to be in this band. It's like going to a church service. It's like it's like hanging out with your friends, having a good time, sharing your heart to them, and they're sharing it back, because most of the people that come see King's X have a song or two that got them through their life or changed their life or had some profound relevance to them. And to know that and to be told that by so many different people, it just makes what you do even more exciting to do it. I did it because I love to do it. Now I do it because it makes people happy and it affects people. And because of that, that's my lot in life. That's my calling. I get it now. I'm supposed to be up there singing, and whatever happens has been happening and will always happen as long as I keep doing it. I just got to keep doing it and do what I do. It's there's not a thought about it at all. I've been singing since I could talk. My mother said I could sing a melody before I could say words. And she said I would cry when she turned the record player off. I had an aunt on my dad's side who is perfect pitch, and she got on the piano when she was 3, and she played till she passed away. So there's this thing in my family, and my dad's side especially, that's very musical, and there's a thing on my mom's side that's very analytical. And so I'm like a combination of the two. It's like I break things down really in logical ways, but yet I'm a super emotional person who's driven by his emotions. And I go back and forth. It's always been a battle in my world.
Well, conflict makes for the most beautiful music, doesn't it? So I mean,
it sure does.
It's a great thing. Now, you had mentioned, you used an analogy that I want to circle back on. You talked about how it's kind of a religious experience at church. And there was a time early in your career where King's X sort of straddled this line in the popular culture between kids that were, in the time we called it CCM music, right? Christian rock. And then you guys were sort of, not that you were ever in that world, but somehow through just your presence, and I don't know if it's people that are just spiritually inclined, realized that you guys were also in this kind of spiritual journey. They were just drawn to you. And you've literally had sort of, for a while, these two genres of music fighting over you, right? The Christian rock scene, the regular rock scene. How is that? Does that still go on? Do you still find that to be a part of your identity, or did that just kind of wind down and go away?
Yeah, it wound down. It went away. Those who believe that liked us stayed. Those who felt that we weren't doing what God wanted us to do are gone. And those who passed us off as a Christian band are gone, and those who didn't care are here. And that's the beauty of it at the end of the day. You know, we saw the division and we saw what was going on. And for us, we always said we're not a Christian band. We don't want to be a Christian band. We don't believe that we could do and be who we want to be if we put the C word on it. We knew that as soon as you said fuck, or as soon as they saw you with some wine, or as soon as a rumor popped up, or as soon as they found out I was gay, which when they did, they banned all our records from Christian bookstores. So
I remember.
And you know, it's like, did it hurt? No, it was a joy. Finally, we're out of this. You know, now we can get on with our life and stop dealing with this. It was bullshit as far as I saw it, you know.
Yeah.
And the ones that saw the bullshit left too. You know, they're not around either. And so and the ones that, you know, the good people, the you know, so many of my friends are great Christian loving people that are wonderful people. You know, they're in that world and that's their world and they live that world. And even though I don't agree with it, they don't agree with mine. And as long as we can love each other and let each other be who they are, I'm good at that. So,
yeah,
you know, it's been a journey from that, because growing up in a Christian world and then finally getting to a place in my life at 73 where I don't believe in anything. Not saying there is a God or there isn't a God. I just don't know. I can't say there is or there isn't. I can't say who it is or who it isn't. All I know is I don't know, and I have no evidence in it that makes sense to me to make me lean either way. Does that make sense?
It does, but I am going to say, looking at you, I have to believe there's a God, because only a God could allow you to look the way you look at 73 and be in the shape you're in at 70. I mean, I don't know what kind of secret experiment you are, but unbelievable. 73 just doesn't make any sense. You look 44 at best. It's insanity how good you look.
Thanks. My medical tests say that I have the heart of my heart is 17 years younger than my age. So, and I've always aged slow. I reached puberty slow. I didn't start shaving till I was 30. And I didn't have any hair in my arm until I was around 30. You know, it was like everything about me was always kind of slow. My mom said she was kind of behind too when it comes to growing up. And my dad's family, they look young too. And so my mom and dad's side, both sides, I really believe I got a double dose of all of them, because I have 14 brothers and sisters. They're all half brothers and sisters. But I'm the second oldest. And I look younger than all of them. And even my great nieces and nephews will come around and go, Uncle Doug, I didn't know you were the oldest. I thought you were the youngest, you know? And so it's sort of, even in my family, I kind of beat out some of the ones that have a longevity. I have an aunt who's 106 right now.
Holy cow.
Yeah, great aunt, actually. And I can't wait to go see her and talk to her and see how she's doing. But thank you for the compliment, and I get it now. It's like, yeah, this is it excites me in a way that I go, man, I'm lucky. I really feel really blessed when someone says, Doug, how you doing? I go, slap me if I complain. I got nothing to complain about. I've lived my life. I've done what I wanted to do. I have everything I've ever wanted. I don't want everything anyway. I'm content right now. I just need, you know, I don't want to retire and just sit back now and just watch everything. I mean, everything's happening. I want to still be on the forefront. I still want to make music that matters. I still want to write that great song. You know, my goal still is to write the greatest song that's ever been written in the world. And if I do that, then I would have nowhere to go. So hopefully I'll write it like on my deathbed. Okay.
Look, all I know is on your deathbed, there's going to be a group of like ET hazmat scientists pulling your body out of there so they can grab your genes and be like, well, this is how we're going to keep people alive. We're going to study Doug.
I have thought, I have thought about leaving my body as a cadaver for them to go through. And now that you mentioned it, I got to remember that because I want to put that in the will when I make it.
I love it. So this brings up another great point that I've always wondered. So when we talked, you mentioned you've got a new record coming out, I think in a few months this summer, right?
In the September.
Wonderful.
And
when you're writing music, how do you decide what goes, this is for King's X, this is for Doug? I'm sure at this point in time in the career, it's much easier than it used to be, but I've always been curious.
It never was. It was always for King's X. Actually, it was always for me.
Okay.
Really. I've been writing songs since I was 18 when I really started literally writing a song. I was around 18 and I've been writing songs my whole life. And I've never written songs for anyone but myself. Okay. And I have these songs and whatever band I'm in, I go, I got these tunes and they learn them. And it's just been that way. It just continually, it's never changed, So now, when the 4 tracks came along, all of a sudden I'm going, whoa, I can do this all by myself. Drum machine comes along, going, whoa. So I'm writing like Chariot song and stuff like that. Jerry's cussing me out. Jerry's cussing me out, going, I'm not a fucking drum machine. What is this stuff? And because I start playing all these crazy ass drum things and stuff. And, I had to back up a little bit and go, dude, let the guys play, stop being a control freak. But when 8 tracks came along and then now I got Pro Tools. And so I sat down with my superior drummer and I do albums. My new album is completely done without nothing outboard but a microphone. And wow. I'm using superior drums. I'm using UA equipment and everything's plugged straight in the board. And it's some of the best sounds that I've heard in years. I use the Phil Collins drum set.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's the only drum set I use. It works. I can go pull out drum things all over the place, but I put that Phil Collins in there and it's like, why? And then friends come by and go, dude, those drums. I go, it's a Phil Collins drum set. They go, I knew it. Drummers know that sound. I'm going, wow, because I didn't know that, that he has such a signature sound.
Yeah, we're weird that way. Drummers, and not that bass players and guitar players don't. I mean, obviously you pay attention to your heroes and what they do, but the Hugh Padgham, Phil Collins drum sound is a very, very unique entity in all of rock music. Very much like Chris Squire's bass tone. It's like, that's a very,
it is.
And a lot of it's the drums.
I put a little Black Beauty snare on it. I swap the snare out with the
you can't go wrong with Black Beauty.
Oh, I love those things.
So looking back, the amount of music you're responsible for and have released and records is stifling. As you look at it, is there a record, a song? Is there any moment where you're like, that's kind of what I would consider to be my creative apex at the time? Was it, a lot of fans gravitate towards Dogman, Gretchen. What is it?
Well, for me, it's a song. It's Chariot Song.
Okay.
That was my magnum opus. And I said to myself, I'm not going to write another one again. Because it was like, because I used to, those rolling drum machines. So I had to program the drums by hand, the whole song. And then you record it. Then you gotta play the whole song because there was no punching in and out. It was just a little tape. And so I had to memorize that whole song and write it and memorize it and learn the bass and sing and all that stuff all by memory. And I thought to myself, I don't want to do that. Nowadays I could take 4 measures and cut and paste it until I got 30 parts and it's no big deal. But back then it was something I really wanted to do. But when I write songs back in the day, I used to write songs from a vibration that I got, like The Big Picture. When I wrote The Big Picture, the melody, I remember I had written the lyrics, but I hadn't sung it yet. And we had a band meeting about, I think it was that record even. And everybody went home and we were playing demos for each other. And we all went home. And I remember I went for my annual walk and rolled my joint and got high for the first time that day. And I was just like, when I got back in the house, it says, well, I guess I'll put some vocals on. And all of a sudden I realized after smoking, it's hard to sing when you smoke weed. It's just really is. And so I started singing, and I just couldn't get my voice to work. And so I grabbed a pig nose and put my mic into it. And what I envisioned was, back in the day when I was a teenager, I would go to the church that I would go to, my mom's church, I call it, because when I moved in with her when I was a teenager, that's the church she went to. It was a black gospel church that really rocked. They had a keyboard player's name was James Brown. They had singers that sang like Aretha Franklin. I mean, it was insane. They rocked.
Wow.
So when I went there, the microphone that the singer sang in were real cheap, and they kind of distorted the PA at the church. And this one guy named Donnie Ray Thompson, he had this really like a voice like Billy Eckstine, but he distorted the mic when he sang. So what I did was I imitated him on the big picture. I sang exactly the way he sang when I sat in that pew and heard him. It was more distorted. I made it more distorted, but the melody and the riff, even the way he sang it was my interpretation of when I went to church and what I got from the singers.
Wow, that's awesome. Well,
and
the
riff was like, what's the guy's name? Oh God, he's in movies now. He's got this voice, it sings like this. And it's really gravelly.
That's
and he's
so
like
many
underground
people.
singer. This guy is like
Henry Rollins, Glenn Danzig.
No,
not any of the famous movie guys.
Let's get in New York vibe around the time like New York Dolls and what's the guy's name?
David Johansen.
Yeah, that kind of vibe. Yeah. I forgot his name. Because I like to talk about this, but I forget his name. Anyway, I saw a video of him, and he was walking. He was in New Orleans, and it was a death march, and he was and I went and so I heard that melody, and I put the two together and put the song together, and then put the snare and I put the snare at that part every time because that's all the drum machine could do. And I did think Jerry was going to do some other stuff there, but he kept that same snare beat, which kind of made a hook to the song.
Would you call your relationship with Jerry the typical bass player drummer relationship, or is it different because there's only three of you?
Not at all. Not at all, because every bass player that I play with, they all listen to me and I drag them down. They listen to me so much I can't feel like I'm free, because I create this vibe that's a little loose and it's a little in and out of the pocket. And if a bass player listens to me, I'll fuck them up, or they'll try to follow me, and then I'll feel uncomfortable because I can't depend on them for the one. And I always tell drummers now, I say, don't pay attention to me. Lock in to the guitar or whatever. And with Jerry, is from the beginning, Jerry never listened to me. And the thing about Jerry was, and he doesn't, I think it upsets him now when I say this, because it kind of makes him look like he doesn't care, because I always say, he just doesn't care about me. But it's not that. It's that I throw him off. And he is a metronome, dead on it. But if my bass is in his monitor, Ty will look at me and say, Jerry's kind of shaky tonight. And I go, Jerry, is my bass in your monitor? He goes, yeah, I'm going to take it out. And he'll go, take it out. And all of a sudden, he's locked in with Ty, and the magic happens again. So, and the other thing about Jerry is he grew up playing with guitar players almost exclusively, his brother and his dad. And they didn't have a bass player when he grew up. So he locks into guitar. So him and Ty are always locked in. They're locked in like you can't get in there, okay? But the good thing about it is they create this landscape for me to do whatever I want, because they're always there. They never wobble. They never waver. And so I get my chance to be me, and it works out. I'm so lucky I get to play with them, because I get the craziness of them.
That's pretty spectacular. I mean, and again, obviously you've had the thought because you clearly had an answer ready to go. So it's nice to see that even after all that time, you think about why it works, right? I think a lot of people in your situation would take for granted it just works. We don't know why, but you clearly have put some thought into.
I have to figure everything out. If when I heard a first record player, I looked at it and I said, I got to figure out how this works. I would sit to put my ear to the needle, and I'd hear this sound going into the needle from the record. I'm going, well, how do they make it louder? Wow. And I'd hear a song and I'd see a knob that says treble and bass, and I'd turn it and I'd go, it get brighter, and I'd go, wow, I like it this way. Well, I don't like it. And all of a sudden I remember when I was like 7 or 8, there was a bass and a treble knob. And I was always turning it and I'd get my hand slapped, go, Dougie, stay away from the record player, because they were always yelling at me because I always wanted to sit in front of the record player and play it and turn the knobs. And it's always, everything I've ever done, I've been fascinated with how it works. Even living, how does society work? How does my mind work? How does this guitar work? I want to know. I'm such an inquisitive person. I just learn and learn and learn all day. Either I'm watching YouTube videos and learning something new about something, or writing songs and trying to create an emotion that I can put a name on, because I love writing music. It's all about creating a feeling, and seeing where you can take it. When I put up a drum beat and I play it over and over again, and I just close my eyes, and all of a sudden I hear something in my head, and I'll grab my guitar and I can't play what I hear in my head. So all of a sudden it turns into something completely different. I'm going, whoa, that'll work. And I'll put the guitar part down, and then I'll go, what are you going to do with bass? And I don't know. I'll put the riff up and play it, and I'll just pick my bass up and find a riff. I'm the bass player, right? Okay, make up something, Doug. And within a couple hours, I got a song. It takes me a lot longer to write lyrics and come up with melodies, because melodies are very important to me. A melody makes or breaks a song. If you ain't got no melody, forget the song. And I've got probably 50 songs right now with no vocals, just waiting for some vocals. And you were asking earlier about what songs you pick. I write everything, and whoever I'm around who's making music with me, I just say, here's some songs I got. If you like them, let's do them. If you don't, you don't. With Ty and Jerry they just really didn't write a lot. Jerry didn't write anything till way later. Well, he would write like one song a year or something, just because it was like a hobby. And Ty could write, but he just didn't write a lot. But when Ty wrote, it was a fucking great song. I mean, Flies and Blue Skies and Cigarettes and Dog Man. I mean, it's like when he writes a song, I'm like, oh, and I'm shamed. So I go in my studio and I just shit out like 30 more than they do, so I can see if I can. And when we get together to make a record, I pull like 30 songs and go, here we go. And the producer will play like 10 of them. And by the time we get to the 10th one, we go, well, that's enough, because we got 5 songs by Ty and 3 songs by Jerry. And then we don't even get to all mine ever anyway. So,
well, and I was going to ask you that question too. How do you guys pick the producer you want to work with at this point in time in your career, or even for the past couple decades?
Yeah, everything is just a conversation. There's never been an argument. It's sort of like in our band, it's like the band it drives itself in so many ways. And when there needs to be a decision or something, somebody will just go, hey man, I'm going to do a new record, right? Yeah. Who are we going to get to produce it? I don't know. What do you think? Let's get Brennan O'Brien. Okay. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's the conversation.
And that's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing. We very seldom argue over anything, because somebody always has a vision. And all 3 of us, whoever has an idea, it's always a great idea. So we just go with it. There's never like, well, I don't like that. Let's try this or that. The only thing that I think on our latest record called 3 Sides of One, I remember our manager said he was thinking 3 Sides of Love or 3 Sides of King's X or something. I can't remember what it was. And I go, how about 3 Sides of One? And everybody went, yeah. And that was that quick. Of a conversation about naming the records. Wow. So it's pretty low. It's low maintenance. It sounds like you guys have your system. It just works.
It's very low maintenance. And if it's something that's funny or stupid, that's an inside joke that makes us laugh, that probably no one would understand, we will use it.
That's even better.
We would use it in a minute. Yes. Oh yeah. Dogman was that. The original Ty wrote Dogman, and the original chorus was to be a good man. And we thought good is not a cool word to say right now.
Wow.
Grunge is happening. Christians are already having a problem, and Ty says, let's change that to what kind of a man can we call it? And we went down the list. You can imagine the names that we put: Dog Man, Green Man, Blue Man, Pig Man, Cow Man, Waterman. And somebody, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said Dog Man. And we all, three of us, and our sound man was there, and we all busted out laughing. And somebody said, that's it, Dog Man. And we're going to name our record Dog Man. And Ty said, what are we going to do for a cover? And I go, your dog Lucky. Take a picture of your dog Lucky looking in the camera like, how some dogs look stupid, like the RCA Victor record. I said, make it look like the RCA Victor record, and just looking at that. And Ty said, okay. So he went home and took a picture of his dog. And then he doctored the color up a little bit, and he brought it in, and they sent it to the artist, and they did that up. And then they said, what color do you want the dog to be? And I think somebody said blue. I said green. Ty said red. Or Ty said, I can't remember, but then our road manager said red. And I said, well, and that was the only thing we couldn't figure out a color. We went around about the color. Nobody was happy with the color. And so I asked our manager, I said, ask the record company if we can put the record out with all four colors. And so he called them up immediately, and they go, yeah, that's a great marketing idea. And we went, let's do it. And that was it. Mm-hmm.
So when you were done with that record, when the final track was recorded, did you all know that was going to be sort of this watershed moment where everyone was going to lose their mind?
No, let me go back. Okay. Now, let me tell you the history of this one. First four records King's X did. Our records, they are what they are. We never were happy with the sound of them because they didn't sound as big and fat like we did live. But that's the way they recorded shit back then. Okay. Our manager, road manager, the whole thing, the guy that did everything, produced the records and everything, left. So here we are going, what are we going to do? So we had written all the songs for Dog Man, and literally I'll send the demo to you. It almost sounds the same as the record, except Brendan just made it like Brendan's supposed to make it. And I remember we did the record in our little rehearsal place, and Brendan came to Houston and listened to all the songs. And he says, so what do you want me to do with this record? What are you looking for? And I said to him, I want you to make us sound like we do live. I said, I'm so tired of seeing Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, all these bands, I go see them and they're blowing, and they're coming to see us going, my God, you stomped us to death. And then we put these whippy records out. And I'm going, I want to be competitive in our sonically. And so he says, I can do that. So we went to the studio to make the record. And I remember we went in, we rolled all the stuff, and we set all our equipment up and stuff. And usually doing analog music, you take a week for drums. You know what I'm talking about. You spend a whole week. Everybody else just plays video games. Well, we went upstairs to wait for a week. We go, well, should we order pizza? What do you want to do? And about 20 minutes later, Brendan comes in and says, you guys ready to start tracking? And we go, what? And he goes, yeah. And Ty says, drums up? And he goes, yeah, they're ready to go. And Ty looked at me and said, yeah, right. And so we went out of the dressing room and went in and downstairs and tracked Dog Man. When we got done with the song, we walked in the studio, first time doing it. He played it back, and we all looked at each other and went, wow. It sounded almost like the record.
Brendan O'Brien's a genius. I mean, he's good at what he does.
He's a fucking genius. And the things that he did to get those sounds. But so the other thing was, I would take like basic tracks back to the hotel we were staying at and listen. And I bought a little ghetto blaster and I played the tracks. And I remember me and Jerry would sit on the bed in my room and play these tracks with no vocals. And I remember like Human Behavior and even Dogman and stuff like that. I'd sit there and go, I can't wait till people hear this.
Yeah.
It was the first time in my whole life I was ever like going, I can't wait. First four records, I was like going, oh man, I hope they like this, because I just didn't like the way the sound was. And everybody liked it, and I'm okay. I was real insecure about that. But this record, I'm going, people are going to love this record. I remember a band came to town, friends of mine, they're called Rothschild America, and I went to see them play. And they said, Doug, you got the new record, don't you? I go, yeah. And he says, it's not out yet. And he says, you got to play it. So I went to their hotel after they got done playing that night. The whole band and road crew sat in this one room, and I played the whole Dogman record for them. And when I got done with it, one of the guys looked at me and said, can you play it again? And everybody in the place said, yeah. And they all had beer and sat and listened to it twice without
a word. Spectacular.
It was. I remember I got in a car with Dimebag one time in his truck, actually. And he had a stereo in that truck that hurt so bad that I couldn't tell him to turn it down. I just dealt with it. And I said, let me hear some of the new album. I think it was Beyond Driven or Vulgar But Fight, one or the other. It was the same time Dogman came out. And he played me like something from the record. And I went, dude, that is so fucking brutal, man. I'm going, dude. He goes, no, listen to this. He pushed a button, and all of a sudden, give me $1, give me, and it crushed me. It was way powerful sonically than Pantera was, and Pantera was blowing my mind, and so that's when I realized, okay, these guys are telling me what's happening here. Rocky George from Suicidal Tendencies. I went to see them one night. And I gave him right back to the hotel and said, play him some of the music. I played him Flies in Blue Skies. And halfway through it, no, it was Cigarettes. And halfway through it, he stopped the tape and he looked at me and said, do you know how inspiring this is? And I go, no, thanks. I mean, literally, my friends that are in those bands always let us know what it meant to them, Even Laney, said, keep writing great songs so we can keep ripping you off. And we just laugh and go, stop it. Because we were all listening to each other, we were all, we kind of were the pioneers, us Jane's Addiction and those bands that were just started. And these bands came like a year or two later, but they were listening to the Melvins and stuff like that, down tuning and just different kind of stuff and going back to the Black Sabbath thing. And the drop D tuning was, I think that thing really changed everything in the world. I mean, around that time, we dropped detuned in the Soundgarden, and all of a sudden, and then Alice in Chains, and then all of a sudden, it's like everywhere I went in the world on tour, opening bands would drop detuned, and I went, wow, this thing has changed rock and roll for about 10 years. It did.
Well, the 90s was a great decade for rock music, period.
Dude, the music.
Full stop. It was a great time.
Look up the records in 94 from White Zombie. I mean, everybody had a record. Motley Crue, everybody. And everybody bought them. Pearl Jam, Vitality. Anyway, I'm babbling now. I could go on forever.
And it's a beautiful thing. I have to ask this question as we swing back to the records and the songs. So fast forward. So you do Dogman, obviously, Tapehead, you've got Ear Candy, you have all these phenomenal records. You start working, you do a record with Michael Wagner. And you reprise Goldilocks from the first album.
Yeah.
Why? It's a fan favorite song. I mean, everybody, that's a fan favorite song.
I'm trying to think of exactly what happened. We were in the studio and I think we were done making the record. We had just finished up Go Tell Somebody. And Michael said, hey, people keep telling me about this song, Goldilocks, that you guys did. It's like your hit song. He said, I've never heard it. And he goes, you haven't heard it? We looked at him like, what? And so he said, can you play it for me? And so he put a mic in the studio, and I'm sitting on this wooden thing with a bunch of rack of compressors underneath me. I'm literally in the studio sitting almost on the table. And I had my bass. He put a mic there. Tab grabbed his guitar, and Jerry went into the studio. Jerry clicked it off, and I started singing, I Can't Believe Summer's Almost Here. And when I got to like 3 lines in, Michael stopped us and said, guys, stop. We got to record this. Look at my arms. The hair was standing up on his arms.
Yeah.
So we went, okay. And we did it. I mean, to me, it's like We just did it because it was something he said, try it and do it, and we went along with it. It wasn't like we did it on purpose or we're trying to do anything. It was just like, Michael just wanted us to do it, and we didn't argue with him. Pretty much that simple.
That's a pretty great reason, though.
Yeah, and for me, you can't. It's hard to re-record a song that's already happened. It has.
That's why I
asked. It has its own magic, and the magic that it has is because of the tension and the tenseness and the struggle I had singing that song, and because of that, it must be what people love. Because live back in the day when I sang it, I felt like I sang it much better and with much more heart live back in the day when I could sing, and I can't sing it anymore now. But back then we were doing the song, and I remember I was singing it Doug wise. I was singing it like I was in church, and Ty came in, and my voice is kind of raspy, and Ty came in and said, "Man, I don't like it. He sounds like Tina Turner." And the way he said it, and just like Tina Turner is. Don't get me wrong with Tina, but the thing that kept me from really being a full fan of Tina was she kind of had this raspy tone that I didn't like, and I was getting that on that song. So when he said sounds like Tina Turner, my brain just went into fucking turmoil, man. It was like battling out, from the ego to the pain to the everything. And so I remember I sang it again, and I just sang it exactly like I heard his demo, because he sang it. And as far as I was concerned, the way he sang it has more heart, and it's more endearing to me than the way I sang it. And so I've never been fond of that song because I feel like I didn't give it justice. And
wow.
But at the end of the day, I wouldn't change a thing.
No.
Not a thing.
So as we scroll through the greatest hits, I want to talk about what's coming. So September, You've got a new record coming out, and you had already alluded to the fact that obviously you've been working on everything yourself. Technology has really kind of freed everyone up to kind of pursue whatever they want. So how does technology, or does technology, affect the way you write at all? Aside from the process.
It's all about the process for me now. It's like I can just do it quicker. If whatever comes into my head, I can sit down and pull up a drum beat and piece it together and write a song in 3 minutes instead of a day. And what I love about it is, when I got all the parts together and it all makes sense, I go, man, it needs a bridge. Well, I'll pull up another screen and make a bridge and put it in there and go, now that makes sense. Or I'll listen to the song and go, well, I don't like 3 of those parts, so let's take these 3 out and make a whole nother song and call it Flood Part 1 and Flood Part 2. That's what I do now. It's sort of like a jigsaw puzzle, and it's so much fun. And because I write differently now, and I hear more music in my head, and I'm inspired by so much more things that are going on, and I have ADD, so the faster I can do something, the happier I am about it. I hate spending a whole month on a record. Within 30 days, I don't care no more. To come in and do this last track, that song just doesn't have vocals, we'll put it on the next record. I'm done. I just can't do it. So I love being at home because I can, and when I do a song, if I go, that's a crappy song, really, musically, and I'll put it in the corner, go, there's something about it, and I'll leave it there. And then maybe 6 months to a year later, I'll pull it out and go, oh man, if I just do that, and I'll just make one change. It needed a key change in this part. And all of a sudden, oh, this is happening now. And I get all excited. Then I look for some words, It's all about just having fun. I try to tell people too, that a lot of people worry about if it's good or not. Is this riff good? I go, it's not if the riff is good or not, it's what you do with it. There is no bad riffs. There is no bad melody. There is no bad music. It's all how you interpret it and when you sing on top of it. As far as I'm concerned, even some of the most bizarre music that doesn't make any sense you can put some crazy cool stuff on it and make it work. So my point is, a lot of people sit down and they go, I don't think this is a cool riff, or I don't like this. Don't do that. Just go with it. See what your bass player says about it. And don't let him come and say, oh, this sucks. It's like, no, you're the bass player. Your job is to make that sound good. Okay, I'm come up with this that works with that. Man, I think this might work. What you got on the drums? And that's how you do it. You just keep building and building until it turns into an emotion and a nuance, because it's all about nuance. It's hard. When you hear somebody talk, you know who they are all the time. You know your wife, your mother, your kids, a singer's voice. When someone talks, you immediately know who they are because it's a nuance. They're saying the same words you're saying. They're saying the same sentences. Everything's the same, but there's something slightly different, and you immediately hear it. That's what you have to have in a band. Everybody in the band has to know how to take their nuance and make it fit with everyone's nuance and be aware of it so that you can make one voice. When people are singing, maybe singers understand this. When you're doing harmonies with people and you're standing in a circle, and when everybody's harmonies are exactly where they're supposed to be, there's this magic that happens. You hear this vibration that creates this thing. Now, what people don't realize is a band has to do that too. Listen to Led Zeppelin. They didn't play well. They were all over the place, but there's some magic that happened with them guys that grabbed us, and we will never let go. But if you try to do that shit perfect, it ain't working. And people want to be perfect, especially now since we quantize everything, and everything has to be on a grid and clicks and everything else. So, we're losing the emotion of music. And I believe that a lot of the modern music, not the new rock bands, because new rock bands are kind of getting that vibe back. And they're finally figuring it out again, which is cool. But a lot of modern music just became dead and cold because there was no nuance.
Well, good music for me has always been about that collective imperfection, right? It's
I like that.
You get together
collective imperfection.
That's the beauty of great music, is that
I'm writing that down. Collective, COLLECTIV. Collective. What was the second word? Collective
imperfection.
PRSCTRO. My ADD is so bad. See, I couldn't remember what you said after collective.
Well, that's fine. But to your point,
it sucks going through the door. It sucks going through life with me, though. I'll get up from my desk and walk halfway towards the door and then go, what did you get up for? And I won't remember, and come back and sit down and go back to what I'm doing until it comes.
I do that. That doesn't happen to me, but I pretend that happens to me, so I just don't have to get up. I'm just like, nope, don't remember. Just
that's a good thing. That's good.
No, I remember again having conversations with other musicians, and I remember thinking there might be a time where we crossed, like you'd mentioned, that path where we're too concerned about, is it shiny enough? Is it polished enough? Is it
right?
Is it time? And there's no such thing as perfect time. I mean, you can intonate a guitar within an inch of its life, and it just loses its life. I can't. It's a weird thing, and there's a weird balance. And to your point, we often think of music now. There are so many people that have the opportunity to use technology to make records maybe they couldn't make back then. You don't seem precious about it, though. You seem like you've embraced the technology, and even though you've done it all the ways, this is what's here now, let's do it this way.
The reason I do that is because after 7 decades of watching music change, everybody went through the same thing. Every change was the same. When drum machines were invented, drummers lost their jobs. The war of the worlds happened in music world in that time. I remember Taj Mahal telling me when upright basses went obsolete and people were playing these Fender basses around their necks, and how the war that went on with that. That's not real bass, and upright bass players, they didn't have no gigs no more. Rock and roll, all of a sudden, there was nobody standing there going, boom, 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 boom. It was over. Saxophones did all the leads in the 50s. They're gone. So my point is, I could do that. I could tell you in every decade, the abrupt change in how we lost our jobs and lost our sounds and lost everything to embrace something new. I'm at a point now where I get it and I'm just going to embrace it instead of crying over it. You know, people go, there's no good bands anymore. And I'm going, well, we're sounding like our grandparents when we took Jimi Hendrix and the Allman Brothers to our grandparents and said, listen to this blues. And they go, that's not blues. Listen to Muddy Waters. That's crap. And I'm going, and now we're saying that same thing to young musicians. And instead, I want to go, no, you do what you do. Just put your heart into it. That's what I miss, is the heart. When I put on a Aretha Franklin record or Stevie Wonder doing Superstition, I played it all day and slept with it and learned every nuance and every riff and every grunt and every inflection that he did with his voice. And that's what taught me to be the singer that I am. The problem with a lot of musicians now is they don't spend the time to learn those little things so that they can create that magic that they will stay here forever and will separate them from other people. They don't understand that because they're bombarded with everything that there is right now and they digest it all, but they get it all, but they don't have time to spend time to listen to it. So a new generation is coming who are creating music different than we did back then from listening to what we did back then. And a lot of us won't accept it because it's not the same. Well, it's not supposed to be the same. It's the new kids' generation. The new kids, it's their game and it's their thing, you know, and you got to let them do it and you got to encourage them because 20 years from now, they're going to be saying the same thing.
Yeah. Yike. 20 years from now, you'll still be here. I'll be dead, but you'll still be here looking just as good as you look now.
I'm hoping to get to at least 100.
You will.
I'm working. I'm trying to do everything I can to ensure that at least if I get there, I'll be healthy as a racehorse. That's what I want.
It's the quality of life, right? I mean, you don't realize until you don't have it that's all that matters is that quality of life.
You know, most people don't. I realized that way before that. I've watched old people my whole life. I've been around old people. I was raised by my great-grandmother. I've watched them be sick and complain about being sick. I've watched them can't walk or they can't do this or they're, you know, all the problems that old people have. And as a child, I went, I don't want to be like that. And one day somebody said, you stop drinking, if you stop eating salt and sugar, it'll help you be more healthy. It was the 70s. That's all we knew. We didn't know anything about vitamins. You know, all that shit hadn't even come around. But because of that, it made me inquisitive about eating food. And we started growing. I became a hippie in my early 20s, and we grew food in my backyard. I remember we had a garden. I remember one day I didn't have nothing to eat, and I went out in the garden and got a whole bunch of vegetables and came in and cooked them up. And I cried because it was the first time I realized how special the earth was, the ground was. I couldn't believe that I grew that and then came and I ate it. It was an epiphany for me it was my love for the earth, you know. It's because I have I feel the earth anyway, and to know that it gave that to me, I was so thankful. That's all I have to say. I could say about that.
Well, it shows, and now we're thankful. Now we know the secret.
Welcome.
So, all right. So obviously, the moral of the story here is you're not slowing down anytime soon. You're just going to keep doing this beautiful thing you love, this music thing. It's clear you appreciate that you get to do it, so you're not going to stop and just watch other people do it. And we're all grateful for that. So I have to ask you this question. You live in Los Angeles now, or in the California area, yeah?
Yes.
But you've also lived in Texas, which is ironically where a lot of the people that live in California are moving to now. Do you see this? Is this the last place you're going to live in the States? Is California, or are you considering? Yeah, this is it. You're sold.
Yeah. The only other place, if I leave here, I'm moving to Mexico.
Mexico. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have friends. So when you get my age, there's places that we all go.
Sure.
When you get old, and I'm thinking, if it just gets crazy here, because down in Mexico, I can live off of my Social Security like a king, because everything's like 4 times less expensive down there, literally.
Yeah.
And so I could just go down there and get my Social Security and keep writing music.
So you never did you escaped the urge to move to Nashville, like a lot of your contemporaries and peers. That there seem to be two places, Nashville and Vegas, where everybody sort of ended up.
The only reason I found no reason to move to Vegas. I mean, or Nashville. The only reason I believe that everybody left was just because it's so hard to live here. It's really expensive and it's hard. I mean, it really, really is hard. I mean, I'm really lucky, but I just where I live, the landlord liked me and gave me a good deal on this wonderful place, and I got roommates and they helped me with my bills. And it's like a French villa that when my friends come, you know, it's like, dude, how'd you get this? You know, but it's not that way at all. I just became friends with a person who I was taking care of another house I lived in, and he was impressed by how I kept the house up and took care of things. And he had like 200 plants in this yard, or has. And so I have, and this is in LA, I've got a front yard and a backyard. It takes me 2 hours once a week to water all the plants. It's it's sort of like botanical gardens here, and it's awesome. I love it. So, but my point is, Vegas, there's nothing there for me, and Nashville, I'm just too fucking old. I mean, what's in Nashville? That's like moving to Austin. I mean, you know, I lived in Houston. I went to Austin all the time, and on the weekends, you know, 30,000 people are in the streets on 6th Street, and we party. And we did it. But I'm 73 years old. I'm not going down there now and hang out with the fucking 20 years old. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck?
I do.
You know, it's like, we don't, and so, you know, move to Nashville. What am I going to do in Nashville? Hang out with all the, you know, the politically, you know.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
get
I'm
it.
saying? And the other thing is, it's country bro music. You know, I don't want to go hear that crap. You know, it's like, you know, I can't stand that stuff. The country bro music. I just can't stand it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's some great songs, some great written stuff,
of course,
and some great lyrics. It's just a genre that I just never liked, and that's the only thing. I'll never say it's crap, but it's you know, it's just like everything else. A cookie cutter. Somebody comes along and makes something great, and then everybody makes a cookie out of it for 10 years, and then somebody else comes along and makes another
is
cookie.
that King's X is not going to do a country album, is what I'm hearing. There's no country album in King's X future.
There's a song called Keep On Going, and we recorded it as a country bro song and as a rock song the way I wrote it. I just said, man, let's just record it like it's going to be a song on country radio. And we played it that way. Nobody will ever hear it. And actually, the song, the original song, didn't get on the record. And I put it, so I took my demo and put it on my solo record that's coming out in a few months.
Nice. So no hope of the country bro version.
No,
that's not the B side. That's, you don't want.
No, because we'll see. Here's the thing too. I wouldn't mind dabbling into country bro if it could be twisted enough to still sound like King's X, you know, like Mississippi Moon, the song Mississippi Moon on Ear Candy record. That could have been on sort of a country song if you just put a dobro and maybe a violin or something on it. You know what I'm saying? It could have been. So I think the thing about King's X is we would never purposely try to create something like Beyonce did. That's just something I'm never going to do. I'm never going to go, okay, we're going to do this kind of record. I mean, Ray Charles did a country record and he changed country music forever. Great. I'm still not going to do it.
Good for Ray Charles.
I've always looked at my heroes and peers and watched what they did, and even watched the things that they did that was acclaimed as some of the greatest things that ever happened. And if I wasn't impressed with it or it didn't move me, I wasn't going to incorporate it into my repertoire of art. You know, it's just, I've always been that way.
Integrity. So as I wind this down, I'm going to ask you this question. Let's say this is the last podcast you ever do. What do you want everyone to remember about Doug Pinnick? We already know in our minds what we want to remember, but I want to know what you want to remember.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was sitting there thinking, well, God, let everybody else say it. I've been told so many times of what But personally, what I would, the funny, this might be crazy, but the way I look at my life is this: after I pass away, within 50 to 100 years, I'll be forgotten, and I'll be buried in history with everything else that everybody else has done. And I look at my life and go, what was it? What was it really for? And what did you accomplish? And I go back and look and go, I did what I did. And what happened, happened. And now it's over. And life goes on. Let people talk about it. Let the stories carry on to become great legendary stories that aren't even true anymore. And then sooner or later, I'll be kind of forgotten. Somebody might discover some King's X record, and learn how to digitize it in their brain or something, who knows. But, the reason I say that is because my great grandmother raised me. And she was born in late 1800s, and my great grandfather was too. And I was around them, and I watched their lives and the stories from being slaves and being half mixed, and the slave owners. My grandmother's mother was the slave owner's daughter, but she was a slave, because she was a slave's daughter, and just stories like that. And now, fast forward to now, how many generations? 7 generations, maybe. I've got great grandnieces and nephews who have no clue who my great grandmother is. I can tell them a story and it means nothing to them. It just doesn't matter anymore. They have a life. They don't even have the same values as my great grandparents instilled in their kids, that instilled in their kids. It's like everything is just faded away till there's just a whole nother world out there. And I realize the insignificance that we are, but how important we need to live our life. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, as we always like to say, it is what it is, we're all on our way out. Act accordingly.
Yes.
You get one shot.
I guess the only thing I want somebody to say is, damn, he never got old. How do you do that?
They will, because you'll still be here. That's what it's easy for me to ask this question, because you're going to outlive all of us and you're going to laugh. You can be like, one time 50 years ago, a guy asked me if this was the last podcast, and you'll still be doing podcasts.
True. I mean, I always make the joke, and I always say, unless I'm not lucky and get hit by a car or somebody kills me or something, I go, I'm going to bury all my friends.
Yeah.
And I look at them, and some of them, and I have a couple friends now that are 10 years younger than me, are in a place where that's what's happening. And I feel so sad because there's nothing I can do. And I wish I could go back 30 years and convince them to do a different routine. But I realize is we all have our path, and we all do what we do. Because I do destructive things to me too. I still smoke weed, I still drink, I still do things that are not good for you. So I can't judge someone. I just have to, just be there for them, and help them to be as comfortable as they can and love them.
What else is there, right? We're all here. Might as well get along and enjoy it.
Yes.
All right, my friend. Look, the fact of the matter is this could be a 7-hour podcast, and I would be fine with that. But I'm going to respect your day and your time. Down. Well, we're not going to cut anything down. This is how this works. This all stays in. This is not one of those. It's not a prim and proper kind of, I am uninterested in time restraints and all that other nonsense. You are a genuine, unique article in all of our music. So I would be remiss if I didn't say, I feel fortunate enough to be your friend, but as a fan, everything you talked about, where you talk about how the music affects fans, there are 2 bands, Kiss and King's X, that ultimately, luckily, they're also both in the iPod shuffled, like right by one another. So it's convenient for me to just flip between the two.
That's what Dimebag said too.
It's it is a privilege on every level. And I am excited about the new record that you've got coming out. I'm excited to hear that. And I know you guys are probably going to end up hitting the road again, I'm guessing. I know you do Europe this summer, don't you?
No, we play a weekend a month.
No.
Every month, a weekend a month, 3 or 4 shows on a weekend, and we do it once a month. That's it.
Even better.
I mean, we post a lot. Everybody thinks we're always on the road, but no, I'm home most of the time. We're old. We can't get no tour bus 9 months on the road unless it's the Rolls Royce where, we got our own separate buses and we're playing, you know what I'm saying? If that, then I'll put up with that for a while, but, and get paid for it. But
nice.
I'll send you, as soon as we hang up, I hope I don't forget because I want to send you.
I'll remind you.
Pick up. Okay. And I want to send you my new album. I'll send it so you can hear it.
All right, my friend. We'll talk at you soon. Now, you can get on with the rest of your day. You can go back to bed if you want.
All right. No, I ain't going to bed.
You're up now.
Oh, yeah. I got to give a shout out to Schecter and to Tech 21 and to Seymour Duncan and to DR Strings.
I love it. We love you. I love you, brother. Be good. And I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay.
Have a great day.